So welcome everyone and thanks very much for coming. Our first presentation will be from Hayden. After recently recently returning from a 2-year stint in London, England as a freelance web designer, Hayden has shifted his focus to his two major passions in life, illustration and teaching. Today, Hayden teaches online classes to thousands of students, produces illustrations for clients around the world, and creates a variety of self-initiated projects to promote good in the creative community. So Hayden, if you're ready, I'll turn it over to you.
Hello, thank you. So what I'm going to be talking about today it's geared towards recent graduates. It isn't just for recent graduates, so if anybody's listening that is maybe a little further along on their journey, this totally applies as well. Simply put, what I want to share today is the belief that not having everything figured out. So I'm just trying to get there. We go. So the belief that not having everything figured out is totally fine, especially when it comes to just coming out of design school. So I think it's important to acknowledge, before I really jump into it, that I myself don't have everything figured out. I'm 24 years old. I've been out of design school for 4 years, and I have had no experience but my own. But in that experience, this line of thinking has really made a big difference in getting me to a place that I really enjoy. So I don't see why it can't make the same sort of difference for you guys. So all that I ask is that you take what I'm going to say and like a pair of socks, you try it on, see if it fits, and take it off if it doesn't. So, as exciting as it is, coming out of design school can be a scary thing. All of a sudden you go from an environment where every hour of every day is pretty much decided for you, to an environment where you must now decide, okay, what am I going to do every day for the rest of my life? Fun stuff. For many of us, this might bring up all sorts of different questions like, should I freelance? Should I work in-house? Do I want to specialize or generalize? Maybe what kind of company do I want to work with? I know for me, like, my biggest question was, did I just waste 3 years of my life? And while these are all, excellent questions, that's not what I'm going to be focusing on, because what I believe is more important than getting the answers to those questions is knowing that not having the answers is actually totally okay. So there's me. Coming out of design school, I didn't have much of a plan. In fact, I think that the plan that I did have was quite similar to most graduates, which is get any job you can. Of course, there were certain aspects of design that I enjoyed and, would like to go in that direction, but really I was going to take anything that I could get. So my first year out of design school was, a bit haphazard. I did some logo design work, I did some signage. Really, I just did a lot of different things that I quickly enough found out whether I liked them or I didn't. For those of you who maybe are a little further along in your journey, you may have had a similar experience of trying a lot of different things until one of them sticks. So for me, I eventually settled on web design. It was fun. There was a lot of demand for it, and it was something that I found that I was actually quite good at. So that's, naturally where I put the next 3 years of my life. So for quite a while, things were going really great. I was living in London, England. I was working as a contract web designer, and I was working for all sorts of different agencies. I was making, more money than I know to do with, and I was getting to travel in all my spare time. It really felt like things fell into place. And that if I just kept going that way for my whole life, things would be perfect. Except there was just like one minor hiccup, and that was that I didn't like web design anymore. At first it was easy to ignore, but very quickly the draw of a career in illustration filled a lot of my thoughts, and over those 3 years, web design wasn't really turning out to be what I thought it was for me. and I wasn't really enjoying it the way that I once had. But like, surely I wasn't going to just, like I said, everything was perfect. Like I wasn't gonna just go and throw it all away. Well, I'm happy that I did. um, it took a lot of sacrifices and a big change in lifestyle, but today I absolutely love what I do. Not only do I, enjoy the illustration side of it, but it's also given me access to something I didn't quite know that I enjoyed, but I enjoy just as much, which is teaching. In just 5 months at the beginning of this year, I became one of the top teachers on Skillshare.com, and I now get to help, fellow designers every day in one way or another. What I do I find very fulfilling nowadays, and while I do miss the money from web design, I am much more satisfied without it than I was with it. So, what am I really getting at here? Um, Coming out of design school, believing that you have to decide on the perfect first step towards, the perfect career to ultimately create the perfect life, that is a very paralyzing, belief. Putting that much significance on a decision is the best way to force yourself into a direction that, you might be unsure of, or to set yourself up for, future disappointment, or maybe even to stop you from making a decision altogether. In addition to it being quite stressful, I like to convince you that it's kind of silly. If you really stop and think about it, you have little to no experience in your field, especially if you've just graduated. And that's not even including experience in your life as a whole. Um, like, on what basis can you realistically make these decisions? you know, 21-year-old me, or sorry, 20-year-old me would have dreamed that the me of today was, working on high profile brands for some of Toronto's top agencies. But in reality, the me of today would hate that. The truth is that what you want today may not necessarily be what you want, 5, 10, 20 years from now. You and your wants change, and that's just a part of being human. So you may be thinking, great, Hayden, so what you're saying is that it is useless to plan for the future because I don't even know what I'm going to want. Fantastic. Well, that's not exactly what I'm saying. Having a plan is awesome. Deciding what you want and going for it with everything you got, making goals and shooting for them, like, I 100% recommend that. If it was not for that kind of action, I would have not had even a fraction of what I've had today. But it's in acknowledging that our wants change that we can not get so significant about the direction that we aim for. Like, knowing that you might want to shift gears down the road allows you to give yourself permission to do so. Think about how much easier it is to choose a direction in life when you know that you're not stuck with it. And I'm not even saying that you will change directions. You might not. It's very it's very possible that you will fall in love with what you do and it'll stay that way forever. But the good news is that if you do fall out of love with it, that's okay too. When I think back to all the time that I spent not doing illustration, do I think, was that a waste of time? But absolutely not. Like, just because those weren't the things that I do today doesn't mean that they weren't a big part of me getting here. And because that was what I wanted to be doing at the time, I also just had a blast. So the point is to understand that you change. Rather than force yourself into a corner, embrace it and live a career that changes with you. Will money be tough sometimes? Sure. Will you still have to do things that you don't want to? Absolutely. And are there more comfortable routes that you could take? Of course. But at the end of the day, you will have a career that you get to create anew every day, and not one that you just made when you graduated and then got stuck with. So, if there's anything I can impart on you today, it's that it is okay not to know exactly what you want. Part of creating your career is figuring that out and trying a lot of different things to see what you like, see what you don't like, is a great way to do that. What you want today, tomorrow, and the day after might not always be the same thing. So just pick a direction and go for it. Even if it's not entirely on target, it will bring you closer to what is. Um, and as I said in the beginning, this is what works for me. If it doesn't work for you, you don't have to use it. So thank you. And in closing, I just have two book recommendations. One is The One Thing by Gary Keller, which is really great if you're having troubles figuring out what that direction you want to take is. That's a great book for that. And then Start is just excellent for getting you into action. Um, the Creative Pep Talk podcast, if you don't know it, I recommend it to every person that does even the most remotely creative thing. It's really great, inspirational, motivational. I highly recommend it. And if you want to reach me at any point, the best thing to do is just go to hkove.com, and then, I'm on all the social things and email, and yeah. So thanks, and I hope you got a lot.